Hi, I'm Paul from Telecoms Cloud, and this is another in our series of video how-to guides using the Telecoms Cloud API. In this episode, we're going to be talking about international phone numbers and how you can use the Telecoms Cloud API to format them intelligently based on where a caller is calling from, giving end users the full dial string they need in order to dial a phone number. Now, if you're new to the Telecoms Cloud API and you haven't already set up your environment to work with our PHP client available on GitHub, click the link that's appearing here now to watch the episode on how to get started, and then come back to this video once you're all set up. Okay, so what we're going to do in this video is capture the end user's IP address. We're going to use an external service to determine the country that the user is visiting from based on that IP address. We're then going to pass the phone number and the user's country to the Telecoms Cloud API, and then we're going to use the optional pretty parameter to format that number with spaces, so it's a lot easier to be read and viewed by a human. So the first thing we're going to do is capture the end user's IP address. Now, I've already got my sandbox demo set up that we used when getting started, and you can see here that we're still connecting OK to the Telecoms Cloud API and receiving the OK there. So we'll go to our text editor here, and I'm using Sublime Text here. So I'll just comment out that line because we don't need that anymore, and then add a new line. So what we're going to use is PHP's superglobal variable to find the user's IP address. So we'll do that like this. Now that is going to return the user's IP address. So if I now echo that out and save that, if we refresh this, we'll see the IP address. And obviously I'm running this on a local machine, so it's just giving me the local IP address, but when this is deployed to a live server, it will of course show a public IP address. We're going to use an external service to turn that IP address into a country, and for this we're going to be using ipinfo.io. That provides a very basic API which will allow us to pass it an IP address and receive back information, and what we're looking for here particularly is the country code there. So in this example it's US. First, to find the URL, it's ipinfo.io, and then what we want to do is pass that the IP address, so add that to the string, and we want to receive back from there a JSON string to decode. So we pass that there like that. Now we want to use the PHP's file get contents to retrieve that. So we're going to create a variable and say file get contents of the URL that we defined there. And then that will return to us a JSON string, and we're going to decode that. So we'll say our data, JSON decode our JSON string, and we're also going to pass that true so that we get back an array. It's up to you how you do that. And then we're going to say country code is in our data array, and as you'll see on here it's labeled country. So now that we've got our user's country, we can pass that along with the telephone number that we want to format to the Telecoms Cloud API, and it will return to us the full dial string, i.e. how to dial that number internationally from the country we've said that we're dialing from. So what I'm going to do is create a new variable and call this formatted number, and I'm going to use the client, which we've already defined up here on line 8. I'm going to use the method format number international there, and in that I'm going to pass it inside square brackets the number, and I'm just going to make up a fictional number. So we have a business in London, so we say 0207 946 4981. Pass it that, and I'm going to tell the Telecoms Cloud API that the number is based in GB. And then I'm going to tell the Telecoms Cloud API where it's being dialed from. Now this is going to change dynamically, of course, that's the point of the exercise, so it will be dialed from country code. There we are. And optionally, I'm going to use the pretty parameter and turn that on and say true. Now what that does is that will just display the number in a nice way for us with spaces, which makes it obviously a lot easier to read when you're dialing the number. You can leave that off if you're using it in a data service where you need it without strings. Okay, so for the purposes of this exercise, I'm actually going to comment out that line and tell it that we're dialing from, let's say, Spain. So I'll say ES just to demonstrate. So let's use var dump to see what we have here. var dump formatted number, save that, refresh, and here we have an array which contains number and the string there. So you've got 0044 and then the number to dial there. So if I create a new variable and call that display number and extract just the number part of that array, formatted number, and then if you imagine this is on a website's contacts page, for instance, you might say call us now on, and then the display number. So if I save that there and refresh, it now says call us now on, and then puts the full number that the customer needs to dial in order to dial your number. So there's no ambiguity at all, and regardless of where they're calling in the world, it will give them the number to dial. Let's just try that again and put in another country. So let's say we're dialing it from there in London, and it will understand that there's no need for any extra strings, and it will just display the number as you would expect to see a London number displayed. You'll notice it's still got the spaces in there. That's because we use the pretty option. Let's take that out just to show you how it will display without. And all it does is remove those spaces for us. I'll pop that back in. And just to demonstrate again, let's say we're dialing this from the United States. Save that. Refresh. And this time it's slightly different because the dial string is different when dialing from the United States, but it's displayed that automatically for us. So just to recap what we've done here, very simply we've used an external service, in this case ipinfo.io, to retrieve the information about the user's IP address, which we've retrieved using PHP. We've then got the country code. I'll put that back in for the live example there. And we've passed to the Telecoms Cloud API the number we want to format, where that number is based, in this case Great Britain because it's a London number, and we're telling it dynamically where the number is going to be dialed from, and then the Telecoms Cloud API returns to us the full string, so no +44 where the user has to understand what plus means to them. This tells them exactly with no ambiguity. So there we are. That was how to format international phone numbers with the Telecoms Cloud API, and you can now format any phone number for a local audience so they can see it exactly how they would like to see it and know exactly how to dial the number. For more handy hints and tips and how-to videos, you can check out our YouTube channel. That's YouTube/TelecomsCloud. You can also contact us on Twitter. We're at Telecoms API. And of course, if you want more information and how-to documentation for the API, just head over to telecomscloud.com/API. I've been Paul Freeman Powell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.